any expectation that this upcoming budget, keeping in view IMF tight conditions and monitoring, a balanced budget is expected?
I think this will be one of the most difficult budgets to make in the history of Pakistan. Further taxing will make the economy even worse. And so the government is going to face a very big challenge in terms of right sizing, and whether they will take up that challenge or not, we have to see that. What we need is a reform budget, but unfortunately, I think we'll get a budget of business as usual.
Are we hoping really with the justification that there is a huge potential in mineral sector from Balochistan to Gilgit-Baltistan?
From potential to achieving reality on the ground is a long journey.
Or do you think we are really in a takeoff condition and days ahead are quite economically bright?
The future is in regional connectivity, and hopefully Pakistan will be a major hub in this connectivity.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, preparations for Pakistani Federal Budget 2025-2026 are almost in final stage, and soon after Eid al-Adha, the Federal Budget will be presented on 10th of June. A day before Federal Budget, Economic Survey of Pakistan will be presented by the Government of Pakistan, Ministry of Planning, Finance, and number of other departments are involved in planning and publishing and launching Economic Survey of Pakistan. Both are extremely important documents, the Economic Survey as well as budget. When we talk of Pakistan's federal budget, there is a very tight economic situation of Pakistan. Before the announcement of this budget, a high-level delegation from International Monetary Fund a couple of days back concluded its visit to Pakistan, held negotiations, but as per information available, there was no concrete agreement between IMF and Pakistani government. What IMF was suggesting, of course, government has its own priorities, political compulsions. Some of the IMF condition and things were not accepted, particularly giving tax relief to the common man and to the salaried class. And there was also an issue of further reduction in electricity tariffs. And there was also an issue in real estate sector, which government wanted to revive it so that there could be massive boost given to multiple sectors associated or attached with real estate sector. And of course, tax reform, economic reforms, foreign direct investment. And if you look into Pakistani newspaper, there are series of statements, advertisements from farmers of Pakistan who are saying that agriculture sector is severely affected and there is a massive reduction in agriculture growth. To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us former finance advisor of the government of Pakistan, Dr. Salman Shah, who is a seasoned economist and also teaches writes extensively on economic issues of Pakistan in national and international media. Dr. Salman Shah, very warm welcome to Program Insight in V News English. So I would like to begin that player. So the preparations for the budget are almost finalized. Eid holidays are there, but soon after Eid holidays, the budget will be tabled. So till last moment, today there was an NEC meeting as well, chaired by Prime Minister of Pakistan. So continuously there are meetings on FPR reforms, on economic reforms, targets, things like that. So keeping in view these tight economic outlook of Pakistan, IMF conditions, please share with us, will it be possible for this coalition government comprising of PMLN, PPP, and several other political parties. And of course, these parties can't ignore the public pressure. So the question is, any expectation that this upcoming budget, keeping in view IMF tight conditions and monitoring, a balanced budget is expected? Dr. Shah Sahab.
I think this will be one of the most difficult budgets to make in the history of Pakistan, because there are number of issues which have to be tackled, and they need a very powerful government, a very strong government, very sure of itself to be able to do those things. First of all, a big element this year is going to be the defense budget, because, as you know, we have had a war-like situation with India. It is still continuing, and the defense expenditure, is bound to go up substantially, just to make up for our use of equipment, and restore everything, and also to plug any holes in our defenses. So I think number one issue is going to be how large is going to be the defense budget. The second issue then will come: how will we finance the defense budget? Is it going to be more taxes, or is it borrowed money, or can the government actually cut its other expenditures to make space for the defense budget? And when we come to this situation where the government has to cut expenditures, then there are lots of options which come up, and the biggest one is that you right size the government. Under the 18th Amendment, the federal government has to be much smaller than what it is right now, and the provincial governments have to do lots of things which even the federal government is still doing. So the first thing is, out of the 45 divisions of the federal government, will we be able to slash them down to less than 20? So that
But they are
would be
still
one.
expanding. It's going the other way.
Yeah, it is going the other way, but I think the pressure is going to be very high, because under the IMF conditionalities, you have to have a primary surplus, which basically means that all increases in expenditures has to be met by tax revenue or government revenue. Or the other option is you cut your expenditures. So if they decide to increase the government taxes, then already the tax burden is very high. Already the economy is not growing very well. There are no jobs, no growth. So further taxing will make the economy even worse. And so the government is going to face a very big challenge in terms of right sizing, and whether they will take up that challenge or not, we have to see that. Also, I think the IMF is this year going for kind of deregulation and liberalization in the agriculture sector. They have forced the government not to provide support prices and not to be able
Exactly. No
to.
subsidies.
No,
Exactly.
they are not providing. I mean, the biggest impact on the farmer is that in the wheat crop, they suddenly withdrew the support price, and the prices collapsed, and the farmer made very major losses, and already
Exactly.
it has an impact all across agriculture.
This
The
is what the
second,
reservation is. Exactly.
so I think the other thing which the IMF is asking is to reduce the protection for lots of protected industries like the auto industry, and they want the tariffs to come down, and the protection reduced, and that will create a lot of issues for these protected industries, and I think the government will have to come up with solutions which are extremely difficult, and for a political government. And then I think also on the energy sector, the IMF is not going to relent on the circular debt issue, on the tariffs issue. They want that the total cost be recovered from the consumer, and that basically means that the energy sector is going to be a very big burden on the people of Pakistan. And so the reform agenda in the energy sector is going to be, we don't see any reforms happening, but they'll have to come up with very quick reforms so that we can go to a competitive power sector. and there is some element of competition over there. And so you need to transform the energy sector, which we don't see much happening in that area. So I think, along with this, the privatization of state-owned enterprises and their subsidies, I think, is another bleeding issue. And so far, the government has not been very successful in the privatization effort. PIA is privatization, then the Disco's privatization, the other
True.
state-owned enterprises privatization. This has to be done on a almost on an emergency basis, and we don't see the urgency so far. So I think the issue is going to be: is this budget going to be business as usual, or is it going
Mhm.
to be a reform kind of a budget? And because what we need is a reform budget, but unfortunately, I think we'll get a budget of business as usual.
Dr. Salman Shah Sahab, you have been also in the government and you spoke very rightly about this right sizing. And right sizing is connected with austerity, reducing the size of departments, the bureaucrat, number of the bureaucracy or the supporting staff or something like that. So whenever we talk of this austerity and these things, but how it is applied on the cabinet, and you precisely talked about this, departments and the cabinet portfolios are expanding. So then definitely this so-called slogan of austerity goes into air then. So on the one side, government is talking strictly that controlling expenditure. On the other hand, there are scores of advisors, special assistants, federal ministers, ministers of state, just to politically accommodate every political party.
Yeah, I think the government has to bite the bullet. And unfortunately, we don't see any signs of the government going for right sizing in a big way. They did form a committee for right sizing some months
Exactly.
ago, but we know that the economist on that committee resigned very quickly because he said the
Kaisar
government
Bengali
is not
sahab.
very serious
Exactly.
about it. So I think the budget is will be lots of promises, but in actual fact, what they will achieve is going to be much less than what they promise. And once the budget is passed, then the following day we'll probably start to see new budgets and mini budgets and supplementary budgets and all
Exactly.
kinds of things happening, which is not very good, particularly from the standpoint of the IMF conditionalities. So I think the government is going to be in a very big fix. How do you satisfy the IMF? How do you satisfy the taxpayer? How do you satisfy the government employee? How do you satisfy the business community? And all of them seem to be dissatisfied with what's going on.
Doctor, a very, very important thing that you did not touch, that is the export sector of Pakistan. And if you look into the export, currently the textile sector is also crying. So some of the textile ready-made items and products, there are unnecessary tariffs, duties on that. They're also seeking relief from the government. So, and of course, the textile is one of the backbone of the economy. More exports of textile you have, it is definitely more income comes to the kitties. So, what do you think? What should be done? Textile used to be Pakistan's traditional export, and it used to bring
I
fetch
think the
wages.
export sector is a particularly very important and a sector for which the government seems to have no strategy. The tariff talks with the US, if they are successful and we are able to reduce almost to zero level the taxes, then there might be some benefit for the textile industry. But overall, our export industry is not very competitive with the high cost of energy and high financing costs and other costs,
Taxes and
logistics, taxes, everything is against them. And I think that once you have target like under the Udan program, you're talking about 60 to 70 billion dollars of exports. That cannot happen without investment. I mean, if you want your exports to go up to 70 billion, you have to introduce new technology, new ways of doing business, more efficiencies, more competitiveness, which needs new investment. And right now, we have a very bad investment climate. The private sector is not investing. Private sector is not even borrowing money from the banks. The credit to the private sector is at an all-time low, and the private sector investment to GDP ratio is about 6 to 7%, which is really the lowest ever. So I think exports are not going to be an easy thing to do. You need to do very major changes in terms of your investment climate, and you have to reduce regulation, you have to deregulate, you have to take the NOC culture out of everything, and you have to provide competitive inputs to the private sector. The energy costs are still too high. So I think nobody is really focused in Islamabad on these issues at the ground level, and we'll see a lot of talk about it, but in actual fact, already the results of the export sectors are quite dismal, and exports are not increasing the way we want them to increase.
Talks of this, there is a new element into our economy, and recently a crypto council was constituted. And a young gentleman who has an experience in that field was appointed as head. But State Bank of Pakistan immediately made intervention and criticized this setting up of this crypto council. How you see this entry of the cryptocurrency and immediately forming of a council without realizing the existing framework or without consulting State Bank? So your thoughts, will this process go ahead or will remain
I
stopped?
don't think we have done our homework in this area, and there is very little detail other than that there is 2000 megawatt power which will be used for data centers,
True.
and who will invest in those data centers, we are not sure. Why would some foreigner invest in it? And if there are no foreigners, then is the government going to invest? So there is no clarity on this. But I think the issue really for Pakistan is not this cryptocurrency, but the issue for Pakistan is how are we going to modernize our economy to get into the areas of artificial intelligence, digitalization, superconductors, and chips technology, rare earth minerals. These are the areas in which we need to get into very quickly if we have to come into the 21st century. And in that respect, I think the best partnership we can have is with China, but I don't see any progress in terms of these areas, particularly the new artificial intelligence area. We have a very good relationship with China in the defense and security part, but we don't have the same kind of relationship in the private civil side. So I think this is something which we'll be hearing a lot about, but at this point in time, we don't have enough information to be able to comment on it.
Top you precisely mentioned about this rare earth minerals. And almost 2 months back, Pakistan hosted a global summit in Islamabad in which a number of foreign investors, expected investors, they were invited, and very good stories were shared with them that Pakistan has a huge potential. And it is usually in analysis and newspaper, it is reported that we have $6 trillion reserves. Recently, 32 rare minerals were also discovered in Gilgit-Baltistan area. And a lot of hope is attached that if this real mineral sector is properly executed, it could turn around Pakistan's economy. So are we hoping really with the justification that there is a huge potential in mineral sector from Balochistan to Gilgit-Baltistan?
So I think from potential to achieving reality on the ground is a long journey. And I think we have to document this potential, and we have to do the exploration bit, and also refining and coming up with and firming up the deposits. And then finally, we need do lots of investment, because there is a value chain of rare earth minerals, which is from mining to the ultimately to the batteries and the chips. So the entire chain has to be developed. And unfortunately, I don't see China in this game, and they are the world leaders in processing of rare earths. So there is definitely potential, and there is definitely an opportunity. But as usual, I think our homework is not up to the mark, and we need to really firm up all these potential minerals, and then they will be able to have a strategy to how do we take them to the market, and be able to set up the entire supply chain.
True. With information technology sector is quite fast emerging in Pakistan, and over the last 6 months, this information technology IT sector fetched significant income by making IT related exports. So, how do you see the current existing framework? Do you think that more needs to be done as far as Pakistan's IT exports is concerned? And if more needs to be done, what should be that so that this growing sector, more youngsters attached as freelancer, this sector could be developed and could be an alternate to our traditional exports like textiles, surgical instruments, and sports. IT sector, Doctor.
I think the main thing over here is that the government should really be looking at the infrastructure of this industry, and there are lots of complaints about the speed of the internet and the availability of internet and the connectivity. I think these are the issues which this industry is facing. If we can have better speeds and less regulation, less control by the government, and we let this industry expand, definitely there is a lot of scope for it.
And Dr. Saab, you spoke about privatization. Recently, there was an agreement between Pakistan and Russia for revival of Pakistan's steel. And you rightly mentioned that no one is ready to buy PIA. There are other units which are under the state control. So, how these SIC units or the enterprises which are under the state control could be made productive, profit earning? What is the shortcut formula?
I think they cannot be made profit earning, because for the last so many years we have been trying to make them profit earning, and we have not been successful. So the maximum what we need to do is that those which we have failed to turn around, we can close them down, or we can privatize them. Those who are making some money, we should list them on the stock exchange, and through the stock exchange, we should hand over control to the private sector, and the government should really get out of this business, because the whole world has come out of running businesses. If you look at Europe and Germany and even Russia, and even China is managing its state-owned enterprises based on the market economy model. So Pakistan cannot have the state-owned enterprises which will never fail, which will always be rescued by the government, and they will always be a burden on the budget. So I think we need to just get rid of them, and let the private sector handle all of this, and stop kind of harassing the private sector. Let them become big. Let them export. Let them become giants in IT, in artificial intelligence, in textiles, and let the government move back. Even the energy sector, I think we need to bring in the private sector, and Pakistan's economy should really be run like a market economy and not a state-run economy.
There is a follow-up question. If we give so much free hand to the private sector, then it leads to the emergence of cartels. And to deal with cartels, there is an institution, Competition Commission of Pakistan. So, what is solution to this thing? Recently, we have seen the crisis in wheat and also in sugar and in a number of other areas. There are strong cartels, and it is very difficult for the state to break these cartels then. They manipulate
No, I
and they
think these
monopolize.
cartels are in partnership with the government and the bureaucracy, and we need to bring in real competition. The sooner we bring the competition in, the better we are going to be. And there's no other option other than getting the sectors to be very, very competitive. And the Competition Commission of Pakistan, I was responsible for setting it up, but it has been kind of dysfunctionalized, and it cannot really focus on making the sectors competitive. So things can be made, but the first thing we have to decide is that we want a market economy, and then the institutions of the market economy mean that you have to have a very competitive industrial sector, manufacturing sector, the agriculture sector, etc.
Second last question is this: health and education sectors are deeply connected with the development of human resource. Currently, the cost of education is going extremely high, particularly in private institutions, government sector institutions, quality of education, there is a question mark. And the budgeting for higher education commission is gradually going down. Pakistani universities are facing a very deep financial crisis. So health and education, what should be priority? Should government make cuts in other areas and make more funding for health and education?
So I think under the health, we had a very good start in the health insurance scheme, and where we had the health cards, and I think
True.
that was the way to go forward, where the health insurance takes up and every Pakistani is insured, and then the hospitals have to be private hospitals which provide them all the treatment which is needed, and that ecosystem of the health industry was laid by the health cards, and I think we should continue with that and expand it so that everybody gets the health coverage. And once you have the health coverage, then there will be competition among the hospital to get the business. And so I think we have models over there. In terms of education, also, I think we need to have uh, much better management of our universities. We are opening universities all over the place, but there is no
Mhm.
faculty. There are no
Enrollment.
professors who are qualified to teach, and I think that's an emergency basis. We need to have outstanding teachers and professors, and that's where we need to spend the money so that the universities actually compete for the best teaching staff possible. And again, I think education is too much under the government effort,
Control.
and we see the standards are extremely low, and the outcomes are very poor, and our children are not really being educated.
Dr. Saab, everyone would like to listen from you since you are a seasoned economist. Every government starts its own process of economic reforms. So why over last many decades this economic reforms process continues, and with the change of the government, then it is discontinued, then the new government starts. So what is this mystery of economic reforms?
I think the problem is really that bureaucracy is very powerful. The politicians come and go, but the bureaucracy stays, and the bureaucracy maintains its power. And the politicians are not really, uh, there is no politician who has really gone in for reforms. And
Mhm.
actually, this whole idea of right sizing is about a more efficient government. And we are seeing even Trump has slashed the government in America, which
True.
was
Exactly.
supposedly one of the most efficient governments in the world. So I
Mhm.
think in our case, the bureaucracy is very powerful, and it stays and it keeps growing. And as you mentioned earlier, there are more divisions and more secretaries and more ministers, and the bureaucracy flourishes. So in all
Is
this
Hmm.
75 years, I think the bureaucracy has done very well, and the businesses have not done well. Economic growth has
Hmm.
not been good. Our per capita income is amongst the lowest in the world. Our education is the worst in the world. So you can see that in the race of nations, we are
Hmm.
way behind, and I think bureaucracy has a very major role in that.
Is corruption, kickback, and commission is also a hurdle in our economic growth? And if so, how it could be effectively controlled? We haven't seen NAB becoming successful in eradicating of corruption.
I think this is very, very critical, and we see that ultimately corruption, Pakistan has not been able to deal with corruption.
Hmm.
And whatever we have been hearing about the corrupt politics and the corrupt bureaucracy and all that, but none of them has been proved, and none of that we have seen any remedial actions taken place. So I don't think we are, because as part of the overall reforms, when you make the
Hmm.
government smaller, when you deregulate, when you liberalize, then the opportunity for corruption also goes down. So I think
So,
that overall, it's the entire system which is
hmm.
not performing, which is not giving us the outcomes. And of course, there are people who exploit the system for their benefit.
In this backdrop, what is the economic future when system is not performing, economic reforms are not completed, yet there are fairy tales being shared by the government that Pakistan is on the economic takeoff. So, do you think we are really in a takeoff condition and days ahead are quite economically bright?
So I think without deregulation and without making a market economy and reducing the role of bureaucracy and the government, I don't think we are going to take off.
And last only, how important is regional connectivity? We have huge state potential with the regional connectivity, but security situation is hampering Pakistan's reach out efforts to the regional, to Iran, Pakistan. On the western borders, we are witnessing counter-terrorism operations, insurgency in Balochistan, and then terrorism emanating from Afghanistan into Pakistani soil, fitna al-Khawarij, fitna al-Hindustan. So how this war on terror is affecting our economic reach out, trade reach out, and our economic growth?
It is up till now. I think we are the least connected region in the world. But now I think things will change because this region geopolitics is changing very rapidly, and with the SCO and opening up with China and
True.
Russia and Iran and even Middle East and Africa under the Belt and Road Initiative, I think Pakistan will play a very major role, provided we are part of this new geopolitical setup, and we are able to integrate our economy with China in a very big way. And with China, we can reach the Middle East and Africa, Europe, Central Asia. So I think the future is in regional connectivity, and hopefully Pakistan will be a major hub in this connectivity.
So only one last sentence. How you said very rightly that future is in connectivity. What is the way out of economic stability and getting rid of all foreign loans?
I think the basic idea which I said was that we need to really push for a market economy and get rid of a bureaucratic state owned economy. And until we bring in the market economy and competition and the private sector, we have no hope of competing in the world. So I think that has to be the way forward, a market economy run by the private sector and supported by the government.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salman Shah Sahab, for sharing your very, very strategic thoughts that how upcoming budget should be, where the focus should be. And we hope so that our international viewers particularly would benefit from this strategic analysis on economic sector and upcoming budget by Dr. Salman Shah Sahab, who despite
Thank
his
you.
very busy schedule, shared some time and participated in our program. Till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.